Sonny Tv Arsenal, we're live, guys. What's going on? Everyone's here. Getting my exercise going these days, doing my bench press, all that stuff for your back, the flies. But yeah, if you guys missed it, the debate of the century just happened. The debate of the century. And it was going on Wax's channel, Wax Online. Check it out. Good channel. One of the boys out there definitely should come on if he's out there. See if he wants to join us. But anyone who wants to know what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about Liverpool. Are they the best team in the world? And what to you actually is the criteria for best team in the world? Because Sam really got mad a few minutes ago, and you guys should definitely go check that out when you're done. But yeah, so my whole thing is, I don't think Liverpool are the best team in the world. I think for you to be the best team in the world, you have to consistently do it at least 2 to 3 years. Either win all your domestic trophies and destroy your league, or maybe win the Champions League back-to-back. But you can't just win the Champions League 1 year and say, oh, I'm the best team in the world. But hey, Sam, what do you think makes Liverpool this great team, the best team in the world? Because they are a great team, but I don't know about best team in the world.
Well, again, I'm trying to make my point that it's about at this time in our history right now. It's this time, first I would say the first half of 2020. For me, Liverpool are the best team in the world currently. And for me, it's because I think they play the best football. That's going to be subjective, of course, that's an opinion. I think that's based on the way they play, how dominant they are, the amount of goals they score, they're absolutely dominating the Premier League.
Liverpool aren't even the best team in England over the past 2 seasons.
Let me finish, dude. Let me finish. Right now, they're dominating the league. If the league would have finished, I don't think anyone would say anything else that Liverpool would win, and that with a big margin. And then on top of that, for me, the only way you're competing with other top European leagues, so to speak, is you do that through the Champions League. And at the moment, they are the holders. Okay, they got knocked out now by Atletico Madrid, but they're the holders of the Champions League. Then they went through some amazing games to do that, to win that. And, for me, that means currently they're the best, and that's what it is. And they also won the World Club Cup, which is playing against what's supposed to be the best teams international. But it's against the best teams in South America.
Best team in South America. Pablo Mari was on that team, and he was their best player. Does that make him the best player?
I don't think so. I don't think he was their best player. But anyway, the point is, that's the biggest international tournament. But yeah, the biggest tournament in Europe is the Champions League. That puts all the biggest clubs against each other. And at the moment, Liverpool are the holders of that tournament. Now, talk about criteria. No one can decide on criteria. You want to go back 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? How far do you want to go back?
Sam, 1 second. So you said Liverpool are playing the best football. That is subjective. You're saying yes. Liverpool...
And that's my argument right now. That is what right now I'm saying. So we've got 2 different arguments going here. That's the problem. I'm talking about right now, and you keep going back 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So
okay, forget about right now. Your argument. Liverpool play the best football,
my argument. Right? My argument is right now. It's right now.
Play the best football
5 years ago, Liverpool didn't play the best football, no.
Not 5 years. Yeah. Right now, Liverpool play the best football. In my opinion, every team in the world.
Have you seen every team in the world?
No, but I've seen a lot of different teams. I've watched Atlanta, for example. They're very entertaining. I've watched Red Bull Salzburg.
So you say Atlanta are the best team in the world?
I'm not saying they're the best team in the world, but I'm saying playing the best football is subjective. And I can say a lot of teams.
But that's together with winning the Champions League, though. And the Super Cup.
What is the Super Cup? Chelsea were in that competition. They could have won the Super Cup.
Well,
is Chelsea the best team in the world?
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that. But they also won. No. You're talking about trophies. You're talking about.
Stop. If Chelsea were to, Sam, if Chelsea were to win the Super Cup, would they be considered?
You're talking one trophy.
Well, you keep mentioning it.
No, you keep mentioning trophies. You're mentioning trophies. I mention a trophy, and then it's not good enough. Then it's because Chelsea's in it. It's not good enough.
Okay.
So make your mind up, dude.
What are the 2 top trophies in the?
So what? So you got to make your mind up. Are trophies going to count or not? Because when I mention a Super Cup, all of a sudden that's not a trophy.
The Super Cup is not levels, bro. It's not. It's
okay, so what's your levels? You're going to count it or not?
It's a preseason cup, basically.
But they're still playing the Champions League winner against the Europa League winner, or the previously was the UEFA Cup winner.
Okay,
right. So they're 2 big teams or not?
Based on that, is Real Madrid last year? Were they better? Were they the best team in the world last year when they beat Liverpool?
Before the season last season, we're talking pre-season last season, before the season even started, then probably Real Madrid were the best. But for me, Real Madrid are not as good as Liverpool at the moment. They're not. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say they're better than Liverpool at the moment.
Okay, I'm not talking about Liverpool being better than.
Yeah, but now you're talking 2 years ago.
No, because you keep mentioning Liverpool winning the Champions League, Liverpool winning the whatever Mickey Mouse trophy they won against. Who was it against? They went to Qatar and they won the Mickey Mouse trophy. What is it called again? The Super Cup, whatever that badge that they get, FIFA whatever cup, and then they won the Super Cup. So that's 3 trophies. 2 of them are basically preseason friendlies. They won the Champions League, yes. They're going to win the league this year, yes. But in comparison to Man City.
They're going to win the league this year, but.
In comparison to Man City. Man City.
I'm talking now, dude. I'm not talking 3 years ago.
Right now, Man City have already won the Carabao Cup. Man City are currently the holders.
Oh, the Carabao Cup. That's not a Mickey Mouse Cup, then.
Currently the holders of the Champions League. They're currently the holders of the Premier League. That's not a Mickey Mouse trophy. Current holders of the Premier League are Man City.
The Carabao Cup is not a Mickey Mouse trophy, then. Is that what you're saying?
The Carabao Cup is probably harder to win than it is to win a preseason.
Really? When you play your reserves? When you play your reserves the whole time? Really?
Okay. Forget about what you're talking about then. Trophies wise.
So what trophies then? You're going to decide on the trophies and how long. So what trophies are we going to count then? You're going to count just the Champions League then? Is that it?
Count the domestic trophies and European.
All of them? Combined. All of the domestic trophies?
How many trophies at the beginning of preseason this season did Liverpool have?
At the beginning of this season, domestic trophies, they didn't have any.
And what about European trophies?
They had the Champions League.
Okay. Last year,
and the Super Cup.
Super Cup was a preseason friendly.
But it's still a cup.
Do we count the Community Shield for Man City's 4 trophies then?
Community Shield is a charity thing.
So is the Super Cup. It's basically a charity trophy. It's a game that is determined by the winners of 2 different things.
Yeah, you're putting
the same way that the Community Shield is to the Premier League is the same way the Super Cup is to the European winners. It's just basically a preseason friendly.
So the league. So if you want to take away the Super Cup, then I want to take away the League Cup. The League Cup's a trophy the top teams don't even take seriously.
Okay, so then you can't count the FIFA World Cup.
No, fine. If you want to take that away, then take that away as well. Then you're going to take that away as well.
But then Man City still have the FA Cup and the Premier League.
Yeah, but not now. They don't.
Okay, what? What are you talking about?
Right. I'm talking about right now.
I thought we were talking about last season, beginning of last season.
Yeah. I mean, yes, they won the FA Cup last season. Yeah, and they won the league. Yes, they won the league. They won the FA Cup. Yes,
the Champions League winners were Liverpool, Man City.
So what's for me? Liverpool play better football. For me, Liverpool play better football.
City play better football.
Okay, that's your opinion.
Than Liverpool.
But what cup is better? What cup is better, the Champions League or the FA Cup?
What cup's better, the Premier League or the Champions League? Obviously, everyone's going to say Champions League is better, right?
Right.
Okay, but at the same time, what's harder to win, the Champions League or the Premier League?
Pretty hard, both of them.
What's harder to win? Probably hard, both of them.
Well, one of them's 38 games, right? Okay, so you can't compare them really, can you? Because one of them's 38 games, and the other one's 20 something games with the first, the group stage and everything. What is it altogether? I can't remember how many games it is now, but if you go all the way through to the final, it was 20 something games. But yeah, you can't compare 38 games, of course, because they're 2 different competitions, right? They're played differently. But to me, the Champions League, it's pretty much on level with the Premier League in terms of quality. involved,
So
right?
Champions League is the highest the highest competition possible. Yes.
For European teams, I would say yes. What trophy comes higher than the Champions League in Europe?
None. We agree on that. But one thing I will tell you is, if you win the Champions League, doesn't mean you're the best team in the world. It doesn't.
Okay, so how are you going to determine that then?
The way you determine the best team in the world is
subjectively by who wins. But what if they don't win all the trophies?
Okay, stop. 1 second. First of all, we established that the team that plays the best football is subjective between whoever chooses, right?
Fine, yep.
That's one thing. Second thing, Liverpool, mathematically, they actually only won 1 trophy compared to Man City's, 3 at the domestic trophies compared to the 1 European trophy at the end of last season. Going into this season, yes, they added on 2 more, smaller trophies. Yes. But at the same time...
But you're going back in time.
But I'm going right now, this season.
You're going back in time.
What is back in time?
That's 2 years ago.
What are you talking about 2 years ago? I said this
season... You keep going back 2 years ago.
What are you talking about 2 years ago? Did not Man City just... did they not win the Carabao Cup and all these things just this season? This past year? I'm not going back.
We're not in that season anymore. We're in a new season.
Okay, so right now, who's playing the best football in Europe?
Best football in Europe, again, that's subjective, isn't it?
Okay, so in your opinion...
For me, style of play, I think Liverpool are more fun to watch than Bayern Munich. That's just my opinion. I haven't watched every single game Bayern Munich have played. I'll say that. I've only seen a few, but for me, from what I've seen, I would say Liverpool play better. That's my opinion.
Okay, you said it yourself. It's opinion. We're not talking about opinion. I'm asking you.
But then, when you want to talk about trophies, you got to start setting criteria. You got to say what trophies are we going to say are the trophies we're comparing, because each league is different. I mean, you're going to look at the Copa del Rey in Spain. Are you going to say that's better than the FA Cup?
It's on par because it's the biggest cup competition in Spain. But
it's not. They haven't got the same amount of same amount of teams involved. You haven't got the same. It hasn't got the same amount of rounds.
That is a relevant argument, Sam.
Now it's irrelevant, right? You keep choosing. You keep moving the goalposts.
No, I'm not.
You keep moving the goalposts. Yes, you do.
This is what I'm doing.
Because all of a sudden that's not relevant.
I'm trying to stay on a narrow topic. You're trying to win a side argument. I'm not trying to argue between.
I'm saying what cups do we use? I'm saying what cups do we use?
I'm not trying to argue between the value of the FA Cup compared to the Copa del Rey. I'm trying to argue which teams are better and what makes them better. To me, what makes people better is consistency and winning trophies over a given time period. Over this season and last season, just these 2 seasons. If you take this season and last season, Man City have won more trophies, have played better football subjectively, as my opinion, to Liverpool. And when you talk about trophies wise, they can't come close to Liverpool. Liverpool destroyed them trophy-wise.
Okay, so let me
destroy them trophy-wise. Man City destroyed Liverpool trophy-wise.
So let me make a funny point here. Then you're not going to like it. You're probably gonna go mad, but it's gonna be funny for you to see how you answer it. Okay, so to you it's about domestic performance, right?
It's about everything.
So it's all of a sudden domestic performance, winning your league and your cups, trophies domestically, that doesn't count.
It's about consistency. And that consistency. Comes into play.
Doing it, for how long?
I said 2 to 3 year process.
2 or 3. That's you go back 3. You got someone else winning, right?
Okay, in the past 2 years, are Liverpool the best team in England? Even
when you look at them collectively, when you look at the last 2 seasons collectively, yes.
No, they're not.
Well, they've got 20 more points now than Manchester City.
Yeah, but Man City, if you go back last season...
So you look at the points collectively for 2 seasons, it's more points.
Are you going based on points, or are you going based off...
Well, how else are you going to...
What actually finished...
So performance is points, right?
Okay, so you go back 3 years ago, Liverpool were 4th. Man
so
City
you're going to go 2 or 3 then. So that's what I'm saying. You want to go 2 or 3 years, because the more years you go back, the more other teams get involved, right?
Okay, Man City won back-to-back trophies. Am I wrong?
No, let me finish my point. So you talk about domestic performance then, right? So you're gonna base who's the best in the world on domestic performance.
It's consistency throughout the league.
Okay, say 3 years then. Okay, I'll be kind to you. Say 3 years, okay?
Okay.
So it's domestic performance over 3 years. Domestic performance over 3 years decides who's the best in the world. Is that what you're saying?
Consistency over the 3 years. I'm not saying domestic only. I'm saying
I'm asking you a question, kid. Domestic performance over 3 seasons, does that decide who's the best in the world?
Domestic by itself does not decide anything. It's cumulative based on your performances in the.
So now you're changing the goalpost again.
I never changed anything. You're asking me a question.
You can't answer it.
I'm answering it for you. You don't want to hear it.
No, you keep saying all of a sudden it's cumulative. It's not domestic.
Listen, you consistently have to perform in your domestic and in the Champions League. But only one team wins the Champions League. Only one team wins the league. Only one team wins your cup competitions. Only one team wins all these things.
Yeah.
When you have this vast group of
teams, let me put it a different way. Okay, let me give you a hypothetical situation here. Okay, so say the last 3 seasons. Now, I'm just putting this out there to try and understand, your point of view here. Okay. So the last 3 seasons. Okay, I'm not talking about this season now. Might not even finish. I will go last season. I'll make a hypothetical for the past 3 seasons. So for the past 3 seasons, right? If Manchester City won the first of the 3 seasons, and then they got third place in the second, and second in the third, and the other 2 seasons were won by, say, Arsenal and Man United. Who's the best team in the world?
What are you talking about?
Who's the better out of those teams?
What are you talking about? I'm confused.
And you're talking about cumulative performance now. I'm saying, so sometimes you can't go off a cumulative performance, can you?
You've completely lost me. You've gone off. You're trying to win a side argument. Once again, you are completely deterring away from the main point. The main point is, right now, you're saying Liverpool are the best team in the world. I get that Liverpool in a one-off game could probably beat anybody, but they are currently not in the Champions League. They've got knocked out. They are not in the FA Cup. They've been knocked out. They did not win the League Cup. They've been knocked out. They're going to win the Premier League, but winning the Premier League alone is not the bar. You have to show that you're dominant. You're consistently the best in the world.
That's what you're saying. But then all of a sudden it wasn't.
No, but what is your point? Because you're not.
Because I'm saying so the domestic cups count or not then? Then all of a sudden you're saying it doesn't count.
Listen, you have to dominate. In dominating...
Yeah, that's what Liverpool are doing right now. Are they dominating or not?
They're dominating the league. They're making the league look like a Mickey Mouse league. Yes, they're doing that. They're making the Premier League look
when was the last time either of the other teams won by over 20 points?
Man City, 100 points season. What are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about one of the other European clubs.
Are you kidding me?
In the last 3 seasons.
Are you serious? Bro,
in the last 3 seasons.
I don't think you watched the other leagues.
Won by over 20 points. I'm talking about the top European teams.
What do you call it? PSG, every single season they win over 100 points.
PSG, you're talking about the French league, dude.
Okay. Don't compare leagues. You just asked me a question.
Yeah, but it's the French league. So why don't we include the Iranian league and the Greek league?
You just asked me a question. Why don't we see it in other leagues where teams win by 20 or whatever?
I'm talking the top 4 leagues.
Okay, top 4 leagues. Don't you think Barcelona have beaten these guys by
the last 3 seasons?
I don't know exactly. 1 second. Juventus, just 2 years ago, they destroyed everyone in the league. No one was close to them just 2 years ago, before they even got Ronaldo. So when it comes to points, obviously I don't know off the top of my head which league and what points. But what I'm telling you is, this is a very common thing that can happen. And when you're talking about the best team in the world,
yeah, we're talking domination, right?
So Sam, what makes Liverpool the best team in the world right now is not what makes them the best team to beat somebody. If it's a one-off game, Liverpool play somebody else tomorrow, maybe they're going to beat them. Yes.
Okay.
But in a one-off game, maybe they're going to beat them. But you're confusing a one-off game. Which team in the world you pick?
It's 2 different arguments, dude. That's what I'm trying to say. My argument is right now, I think Liverpool are the best right now. And you keep going, no, you can't say that because you have to keep going back in time consistently 2-3 seasons to decide. It's 2 different arguments, my friend. That's what it is.
statistically, Liverpool are not the best team in the world, based on the fact that they
No,
have
the
not.
team in Iran is. The team in Iran is. They're the best team in the world.
Okay, what are you talking about? Let's keep it to the 5 leagues. You said, right? So let's keep it
Oh,
real.
okay. So now we'll keep it to the 5 leagues. Yeah.
France
I'll
is
say
a
the
part of
best.
the 5 leagues. France is a part of the 5 leagues. You do
If you
realize
want to
that,
use,
right?
if you want to use the top 5 leagues, then you can use France. Yeah, of course.
Okay, so then stop. One
But
second.
how many other teams? How many other teams in France are realistically
Let
gonna?
me finish.
Yeah.
Liverpool right now, they've conceded 21 goals. Bayern Munich have Real Madrid, as an example, have conceded 19. So defensively, there's better teams than them. 11 on the pitch, you're telling me there's teams out there that have better 11s than Liverpool. As a cohesive unit, yes, Liverpool are playing well. In addition to that, best goal scorers. When you talk about teams that have, there's teams that have outscored Liverpool. So Liverpool do not have the most goals in the world.
I'm not saying that.
They do not have the least amount of clean sheets.
I haven't said that
They
either.
don't have the most clean sheets. They don't have the least amount of goals.
I haven't said it.
Statistically, it doesn't show anywhere that they are the best team.
Statistically, the best team in the world is in Iran. So
what are you talking about?
what? There's an Iran. They've won like 40 years in a row or something like that.
I'm talking about statistics in Europe. I don't know where you're getting Iran from. You're trying to move the
argument. We're talking about the best in the world, right? No, you're talking about best team in the world, right?
You're making it into a joke.
No, I'm not. You're talking about. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you're talking about clean sheets, goal difference, goals scored, like that even matters.
Why doesn't it matter?
Because points at the end of the season, who wins? The person with the team with the most points, or the team who scored the most goals?
Okay, so Liverpool in the past decade.
When you look at the criteria, it's points, right? Goal difference, goals for, right? That's the criteria for winning the league.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not clean sheets. It's not goals against. It's points. How many points did you get in 38 games? That's what wins you the league, right?
Okay, what don't you understand about what I'm saying?
No, because you keep talking about stats that don't mean anything, dude.
Okay.
They don't mean anything.
You clearly don't want to even hear anything about statistics. You don't want to hear about anything
because I'm talking about the team that's dominating the Premier League right now. If we restarted the Premier League right now, you've got one team absolutely dominating, right? And that's what I'm saying. And they're playing the best football for me in the world.
Someone's trying to tell me stick to hockey. Get out of here, bro. Appreciate the super chat though. What do you call it? Sam, hear me out.
Liverpool. And then all of a sudden you start to go to clean sheets because they haven't got the same amount of clean sheets, so they're not as good then? Is that what you say? They're not good because they haven't got the same amount of clean sheets?
No, I was trying to bring statistics into the point to show you that there's teams that are better than Liverpool. When it comes to players, they don't have the best players. We know that. They cohesively they have a good team.
So what if you look at each 11 in the starting lineup of Liverpool? So what if each of those 11 players isn't the best in the world in his position? So what? Football is a team game. It's not whoever has the 11 best players. You know that.
Look, I will tell you this. If you really think Liverpool are the best because they are 25 points ahead and subjectively you think they play the best football, I can't change your mind on what you think subjectively.
That's what I was saying.
What I can tell you is where I'm coming from. Where I'm coming from is Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus. These teams consistently, year in, year out, are at the top of their leagues. They're at the top of their competitions. They destroy it in Champions League. They might not win it because there's an element of luck when it comes to winning the Champions League. Not the best teams don't always win the Champions League. Let's be honest. We know that. So when we look at trophies, we also have to look at consistency with those trophies, consistency with the winning. Yes, Liverpool right now, they might have the best points total in Europe. Yes, they might be playing the best football when it comes to the Premier League, whatever you want to say. But consistency, they have not done it over a big enough time span for me to say they are the best team in the world, bar none.
Yeah, because for you, it's about time span. Okay, it's about time span. Fine. Liverpool can't go back in time. They're creating something now. They're a very good team now. How they get on the rest of the season, if it was a restart, how they get on next season and the season after, we don't know. We have to see. We don't know if they're going to create that kind of consistency you're talking about. I don't know.
1 second, we got Natish here. let's see what he thinks. Nitish, what do you think about the whole? Who do you think is the best team in the world right now, and what do you think is your criteria for best team in the world?
I know you won't like what I think, but I agree with Sam with respect to at least Liverpool. And the reason I'll tell you honestly is with respect to last season and the last 3 seasons, if you have seen, Liverpool has gone to the Europa League final, they have been in a Champions League final, and they have won the Champions League final as well. So that is something that they have been doing consistently.
I'll call
Apart
that
from that,
consistency. Yeah.
yeah. And apart from that, if you see the Club World Cup, the whole point of the Club World Cup is to determine the best team in the world. You don't just get awarded a spot in the Club World Cup unless you're the best team in your continent first. So that is what Liverpool won the Champions League. They went to the Club World Cup and won the tournament. Obviously, they haven't been as good as they were last season because the likes of Firmino and maybe even Mo Salah has not been in the best of forms. But overall, still they have managed to win the Club World Cup, and they were winning the league by around 20 points. Now, if you see that around maybe 4 to 5 years ago, it was Manchester City who has been very dominating, even Chelsea in England. But in the last 3 years, Liverpool have been more or less consistent. They finished fourth, then they finished second last season, though they should have won the league, and they were on the verge of winning the league this year. So overall, if you count points as you were counting the stats, if you count the points or the number of games that they have won, I think they are the most consistent ones at the moment. And it's a 90 to 100 difference between the play of Manchester City and Liverpool. But right now, based on the results, as you must have seen this season, Manchester City lost a lot of games. They drew a lot of games. So Liverpool has managed to get the results overall, and they're doing better in terms of that over Manchester City. So I agree with Sam on that.
Okay.
Thank you, Nitish. You made some good points.
I get your point. I get your point. But the thing, what I'm confused, I think you guys might be confusing what I'm saying is, you guys might be saying Liverpool in a one-off game right now against any team in the world, you'd say is the best team in the world. But are we saying, as of right now, with the league positions and who's left in the Champions League, Liverpool is the best team in the world? Or are we saying, like, over the?
But then you're only going on the Champions League, Igor. That's what I keep reacting on. Now because they're not in the Champions League quarter-final or the quarter-final, then all of a sudden that's not good enough. That's a one-off you're talking about. But then when I say with other teams aren't, then all of a sudden it's not the same. So you keep changing the argument.
Let me give you guys an example. Tottenham last year were in the Champions League final.
They got to the final, yeah.
Okay. Hypothetically,
they played better than Liverpool.
They were to win the Champions League last year, right?
Yeah.
If Tottenham were to win the Champions League last year, right? And Tottenham were running away with the league today, would you say Tottenham are the best team in the world? The same, if everything...
It depends on how they're playing as well. If they're just playing Stoke football and direct kicking the ball up, Route 1 football, and that's effective for them and getting all the points, I still wouldn't say they're the best of the team because they're shit to watch. For me, Liverpool are really good to watch as well. They play the best football as well for me as well. That's what I'm saying.
No, but that is subjective, Sam.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I don't know. I mean, you keep changing the arguments all the time.
Okay.
Can I ask you one thing? What is it about Manchester City that you feel that has been better than Liverpool this season?
This season, Manchester City are still in the Champions League. They still have an opportunity to win that. They've already won.
But what about the league?
They've already won the Carabao Cup. They're still in the FA Cup. So when it comes to, they can still realistically, they can still win a treble. But when it comes to the league performance, they have not lived up to their standards over the past couple of seasons. But my whole thing is, you cannot be considered the best team in the world based on a one competition win in the Champions League or one competition win in the league. You have to consistently do it year in, year out. So if Liverpool were to win the Champions League last year, which they did, then win the Champions League this year and win the league, or for example, right now they're going to win the league and they're going to win the Champions League, right? If they were to win next year, then you can't argue. They've done it 3 years in a row. They're consistently one of the top teams in the world. My point is, Man City have been one of the top teams in the world with their consistency over the past couple of seasons. Bayern Munich have been one of the best teams in the world with their consistency over the past couple of years.
We're talking about consistency.
Real Madrid have been one of the best teams in the world based on their consistency over the past couple of years. And Liverpool, for me, in such a small span of time, they have not done it enough yet to be considered
They've been really consistent. Nitish nailed it on the head. They've been for 3 seasons now. Liverpool have been really consistent. 2 seasons ago, they were in the Europa League. That's the competition they were in. They won that, right? Last season,
they never won that. What are you talking about? They lost.
No, they went in the final. They went into the final.
Sorry, they were in the final. Yeah, they were in the final
of the Emery brothers.
Yeah, they were in the they were in the final of the Europa League. Then the next season they got into they were in the Champions League. Then they won that. Right, so I mean, and then you look at I mean, it's that that's consistency. And now in the league, you look at the league performance. Last year they really should have won it, really, but they didn't. Okay, Manchester City were exceptional right at the end, and then now, you're looking at points total, you're looking at points performance. That they've been better.
Look, Man City, for example, if you go back, since you just went back, I can go back to 2.
That's because you do.
Man City,
but
they got 100 points, and then last year they got 98 points. In 2 seasons, they got what, 198 points? That is ridiculously consistent.
But this season they're going to beat that. This season,
last season, if it wasn't for Tottenham game with the VAR, they possibly could have won the Champions League, but they didn't. So Liverpool have that over them. Liverpool have the Champions League over them. But when it comes to Man City have more trophies in the past 2 seasons than Liverpool have in the past decade. When it comes to consistency, that to me is consistency. And when you look at teams like Bayern Munich, even right now, today, if you were to say the best team in the world today, based on performance, based on results, based on where they are in the league, Bayern Munich might only be 4 points ahead of their competition in the league. But Champions League, they're blowing out everyone. They destroyed Chelsea in the first leg of the Champions League. If the Champions League were to continue, to me, I believe the best team to take the league, the Champions League and the league, and possibly win a treble would be.
But you're giving them the Champions League now without the competition even being played.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't been completed. But I'm saying they are in the best position, in my opinion.
Just in your opinion, to win it,
just like you were saying, Liverpool are the best.
Yeah, but Liverpool are 25 points ahead. I think they're a bit more closer to dominating the Premier League than Bayern Munich are to dominating the Champions League. Come on, let's be honest. That's two completely different things.
And can I make a couple of points quickly here? One,
go ahead.
The UEFA coefficients that were decided, that was supposed to determine the Champions League, determined that Liverpool was on top. So they were the first team according to UEFA coefficients as well. And so that way, I think UEFA also agrees that Liverpool is the best team right now in England as well. And apart from that, if you see with respect to the Champions League, I agree that Bayern Munich has dominated both Tottenham and Chelsea, but I don't think they are the gold standard of European football right now. So anyways, Tottenham has been struggling through this season. They have seen their ups and downs, and Chelsea has been consistent not consistent, and at the start they were good, but when they faced Bayern Munich, they were already out of form. So even though Bayern Munich can defeat them, I don't think they are. They could go on to win, but there is always a possibility that other teams might show up. Manchester City was also one of the favorites to win the title, the Champions League. But then, how many times have they actually won the Champions League? They have been favorites since Pep took over at the Etihad. So, but they haven't really won the Champions League right through the decade, I guess.
Who, Bayern?
No, Manchester City. They have always been favorites to win the Champions League, but they have never delivered it on the pitch in Europe.
I know. But when it comes to performance overall, they have consistently destroyed the league and run through competition. They've won the league more times in this decade than I think any other team in English football currently. They've won the league. What do you call it? Three times just in the past 4 years. They won it. How many? I don't know how many times they've won it. They've just kept destroying it. And my thing is, if you can consistently do it in the league, that is one way you look at it. And of course, you can also look at the Champions League. But the thing about saying Liverpool won the Champions League, so they're the best team in the world based on that, it's kind of discrediting the domestic competitions also and the teams that have done it year in year out, because there is an element of luck when it comes to winning a cup competition. Don't you guys think?
But those leagues are more or less 2-horse races. I mean, Bayern has always been dominating. PSG is the dominating one. They barely slip up. and even if they do, they eventually tend to catch up because the other teams don't have the bench strength or the squad strength. I'll just like to ask you one question with respect to this. You have always known that Arsenal has won a lot of league titles, but we never did anything that great in Europe. So, do you think that despite just winning those league titles, you would say that those Arsenal teams were the best in the world, or you would just say that they were good in England and that's about it?
I honestly, I don't remember. In 2004, I can't put myself back in 2004 and remember what the other teams were, because as an Arsenal fan, all I remember is the Arsenal team. But if you go back in 2004, you'd have to look at what other teams were also doing in Europe and look at how they were performing in the league. Because yes, we were winning league titles, but we weren't necessarily winning all the FA Cups and the leagues. We weren't getting doubles every season. We weren't getting to the Champions League final every year. We weren't getting to the later rounds of Champions League every year. There would be times where we'd get knocked out, maybe the second round, and maybe sometimes where we wouldn't even win the league. So it would have to be like what Manchester United were doing in the 90s. They were dominant. You could say at times they were the best in the world. What Barcelona were doing early Messi times with Xavi and Iniesta, where they were getting trebles. Even you could say at a time you could say AC Milan were the best in the world because they were consistently winning everything in Italy and they're winning the Champions League. Those kind of teams are what I'm talking about as the gold standard, as teams where you can say they've won everything and they've dominated. No one can argue they're the best in the world. But Liverpool still have so many little holes that you can say they haven't won.
But what I'm trying to say is, what about in seasons where a team hasn't won everything for 2 or 3 years? You know, who's the best then? That's what I'm trying to say. You know, it's not always down to consistency when you look at who's the best in the world. Here and now, you know, you got to look at, you know, here and now. That's the thing. That's the difference. You can't keep going. You know, you can go back 100 years and then Liverpool's the best ever. Liverpool's the best team in England ever. You want to go back 100 years? I mean,
standards have gone down now overall. If you see in Italy, I mean, Juventus has been dominating Italian football, but they haven't really been doing anything in the Champions League. They are struggling. If you see with respect to Champions League football, they always get knocked out in the knockout stages. They don't even reach the semi-finals anymore. And with respect to PSG, the situation is same. And Bayern Munich also is struggling with respect to that. So overall, if you see, there is a drop in the intensity levels with respect to the Champions League, that with respect to these clubs. So it becomes, if you compare the current situation that Liverpool is in with respect to these clubs, I think then you can suggest that it is Liverpool who's doing better overall. You can't say that they are as dominant as the Manchester Uniteds under Sir Alex Ferguson, or maybe an Arsenal invincible side, which actually lost to Chelsea in the quarterfinals of the Champions League in the invincible seasons after 5 long years.
I mean, look at the chat. Look at the British. I agree with you completely. And look at the Champions League the last few seasons. The English teams have dominated the last few seasons. They've been in the most semi-finals, finals. You know,
that's not true, Sam.
It is. It is. The last few seasons, it is. Sam, yes, it is.
Sam, the Spanish teams have won 5 of the
Look at who's been in the semi-finals.
Sam,
look who's been in the last 2 or 3 years in the semi-finals and the finals.
Who won the Champions League the last 5 years, buddy?
5 years. I'm going back 5 years.
Okay, who won the Champions League the year before Liverpool won it?
Real Madrid.
Who won it the year before that?
Real Madrid.
Who won it the year before that?
Real Madrid.
Who won the Europa League?
Real Madrid the best team in the world now?
Who won the Europa League before Chelsea?
Are Real Madrid the best team in the world now?
No, I'm asking you a question.
I'm asking you a question.
You're saying the Premier League, this is that. Let's not compare the Premier League and these other leagues, okay? That's not the main argument. The main argument, because that is flawed in itself. If you try to say, the Premier League last year were the best team in Europe, yes. Last year, the 2 major competitions ended with the Premier League teams in those competitions. But the following seasons before that, if you go back, Sevilla won consistently in the Europa League. Real Madrid won consistently in the Champions League. Atletico Madrid won the Europa League a couple times. You even got Barcelona winning the Champions League a couple times. So let's not.
So what about Real Madrid then? Real Madrid won the Champions League 3 years, and they won domestically as well, right? Years ago, those 2-3 years ago. Why aren't they the best team in the world now then?
Real Madrid before the coronavirus pandemic happened, the last game they played, I think they lost. Before that, they were miles ahead of Barcelona.
No,
Barcelona
they're
just
not.
recently
There's only
caught
2
up.
points. They're only 2 points
Barcelona
ahead.
just recently caught up and now took over them by 2 points, right? But before that, Real Madrid were playing really good football. When you're talking about playing good football,
Not this.
everyone can say that's subjective. What I'm talking about is consistently year in, year out, the team that has performed.
Yeah, but why do you say Bayern Munich then and not Real Madrid?
Real Madrid were consistently doing well in the European competitions the past 3 seasons, but
And
in the
domestically
league,
as well.
in the league, they haven't won the league. They've won cup competitions, and they were doing really well in cup competitions, be it in the league domestically or in the European leagues. But when it comes to consistently year in, year out, this year, if I were to say a team that were better, the only teams I could bring to you is probably Bayern Munich as
But
a
they
team that
haven't
has
won. They haven't
performed
won
well.
it. They haven't won the Champions League 3 years in a row.
Yes, they have not won the Champions League, but they've won the domestic title consistently. They've won the cup competitions consistently, and this year they have their biggest challenge yet, where they have 3 to 4 teams sitting
But
around.
using your argument, the kid, you got to say Real Madrid. They've been more consistent.
My point is, there's been a lot of teams that have been better than Liverpool over the past couple of seasons.
But now you're deflecting.
No, I'm not deflecting.
Based on your argument, consistency, domestically and the European level, Real Madrid, the last 3, 4, 5 years, which has been your argument all the way 3, 4, 5 years.
And people want Sonny. If you're out there, come on.
Then it's going to be Real Madrid. That's the team you have to choose. How can you choose Bayern Munich? How can that meet your criteria?
Okay, let's see what this guy says here. 1 second.
But anyway, guys, I have to go. It's late for me now. I have to go. There's some stuff I have to get done. So this has been really fun. Really good fun. I love this debate. Nitish, man, great you coming on. I'm happy you made some points there to back me up. The kid's got some great points as well. Where a lot of this is subjective. A lot of it is very subjective as well, of course. It's been great fun. It's been really good fun.
All right, man. Have a good one, Sam.
Thanks a lot, mate. We've got to do this again soon and get some more people involved, because I think some other people want to get involved as well. It'll be good fun.
100%. And sorry, guys, I couldn't read all the comments. It's difficult to do everything at the same time. But I'll finish everything off here. My point.
Yeah, I've got to go, dude. You guys continue. I've got to go. All right, thanks a lot. Thanks, Nitish. Have a good night, guys.
Later.
Good night. Good night.
Yeah, Nitish, I think this is where everything is being misunderstood. My point is, consistency is what decides who's the best in the world. And I think where everyone else is going wrong is they think the best in the world is the team that, if you were to pick a team today to play against another team in a one-off game, who would you pick? And that is where I think the misunderstanding is taking place. But to me, to be the best in the world, you have to be consistently performing well. You have to be picking up trophies year in, year out, and you have to be saying nobody's better than me. And I think the teams like Man City, Bayern Munich, those kind of guys, they can say that. Where Liverpool are yet to be able to say that.
I would just like to say that with respect to this is that Manchester City have been doing well domestically, but they have never really done that good in Europe. And when they were expected, if last season probably they were the ones who were expected to reach that semi-final and face Ajax. But again, we had this debate whether it was ill luck or whether it was bad luck. But then an offside is an offside. So Sterling was offside. So I think there is no two ways about it. And with respect to that, if Manchester City had probably reached the semi-finals, they could have won the Champions League last season as well. But then they have never delivered in the Champions League. So with respect to that, we don't really feel that. I don't really feel that Manchester City are right now the best team. Liverpool have been dominating. Yes, they lost the games before the pandemic shut everything down. And as we saw, I would just like to ask you one thing. Suppose if Liverpool did not lose that game to Watford and they were on the verge of becoming the Invincibles, would you say that they are the best team in the world then?
I still wouldn't say that, because my point is not about their performances this year in the league. My point is about they consistently have to do it for a couple of seasons. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there, Nitish.
Sure.
Thanks for coming on. We're going to end it here. Everyone, thanks for being a part of this. Enjoy you guys in the comment section. And we're going to be coming back tomorrow. We're going to be doing a quiz night tomorrow at 9. So check it out. Thanks for coming on, Nitish. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you. Good night.
Yeah. And have a good night, everybody. Appreciate it, guys. Peace out.